Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon, and I am the Principal and Chief Visionary Officer of Adam Red, an Atlanta branding agency. I am a brand strategist and a Better Life Coach. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. You can watch live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your favorite social networks and on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com, where you will also find the replays. And tonight, I'm going to continue talking about engineering your corporate DNA and the fact that you were born to produce. It's part of your destiny, your heritage, and your purpose. You were created to create, but it's going to take disciplined action. Your habits are standing between where you are right now and where your vision is taking you. Let's close the wisdom gap by answering the question, what habits do you need to master? Please introduce yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Ron is helping me monitor the chat. Thank you so much for joining, and please share the link to invite your friends. Tell them about the replays. We'll get into it right after this. Welcome back. Make sure you follow Gwen Fuchsias on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. And visit gwenwitherspoon.com. Let's see. For everything, you've learned everything about me, but most importantly, you can watch live on the website, find all the links to the social networks, and you can see the replay from last week. That'll usually be the largest photo on the bottom, and click to watch more replays, and you'll see all of the links, all the videos from the beginning. You'll see our, I want to highlight too, our blog. So now you're going to see at least one weekly blog post. I'm going to get better and do even more. But make sure you check out this week's. We talked about, I asked the question, are you ready for the COVID-19 holiday selling season? It might not be too late. And no matter what business you're in, you need to be thinking about that. And if you haven't, if you've watched TV at all, you see that Christmas has already started long before Thanksgiving. I think all the holidays, Black Friday, everything has been moved up. And I think I have, it sounds like all of our holidays are actually going to extend as well, because all the retailers want to make sure we have plenty of time to spend our money while we're sitting at home. And if you haven't seen last week's What Has 2020 Done to Your Time? It's time to get your eyes. Is it time to get your eyes examined? So that's a great, both of those. I'm really excited about them because, you just get in a groove. And I feel like those are some really good timely messages and some good information to help you with everything that you are going through right now. And there is also a new, what do you call it? Quiz. There we go. There's a new quiz that you can take each week as well. And so I'm going to re-implement the weekly giveaways. So we'll be starting with the Vivid Mug, and there'll be some other stuff I'll come up with. Get creative from week to week when I have a moment to think and rest and figure it out. But listen, I'm so grateful that you're here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I told you that every week you can tell what I'm going through in my life and what I'm doing every day in my business by what I talk to you about. It's funny how I created the Flip Productivity forms that we're using, the worksheets that we're using. I created those years ago, literally. And when I started doing Vivid Talk Live, I didn't have a plan for exactly what topics I was going to talk about every week. So it's amazing how what I'm talking about now with mastering your habits is tracking. Even though I haven't gone through the whole sheet, I didn't go through it in one fell swoop. It's interesting how it's still tracking to what's going on in my life every week. So we've been talking about, I said, we've been talking about engineering your corporate DNA. So engineering your corporate DNA is really about putting together, really designing, connecting every aspect of your business from beginning to end. It's from, we want to help you start, grow, scale, and thrive. So no matter what stage of business you are in, right, you have to engineer every part of, every sequence, every connection, every system, every process, right? In the business world we call that organizational development. Really. But I think engineering your corporate DNA really speaks more to what you have to do to not just have a business, but to have to build a brand. And, branding is a very popular phrase now. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking, matching up their colors and, getting their great headshots and all that. And all of those are elements of your brand. But ultimately, it's about who you are, how you express who you are, how you express the soul of your business to the world, and how you engage in a relationship based on that, right? And so engineering your corporate DNA is this proprietary methodology, this way of thinking, this system that I've created and that I am creating, I'm building, I'm putting it together. And it is really about building the ark, another metaphor, right? Building the ark, it is another metaphor for building your business from start to finish. Hi, Katrina. But yeah, it's another metaphor because what we want to do, your business, you think about, if you think about all the hats that you have to wear that we know the small business owners wear, it can be overwhelming because you're thinking, how can I possibly be good at all these things? How can I keep all these balls in the air at the same time? But the reality is, you have to think about in some way how you're going to handle all these different elements, because just because you're overwhelmed by them or just because you don't know how to do something doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be done, right? So, but what we want to do is help kind of bring some order to the chaos, to make the complexity of building a business, to simplify that into these small digestible bites, right? So that you can take small, clear, decisive steps to handle all of the issues that come your way, and to grow, for you to grow personally in the process. Because if you're a small business owner starting from scratch, if you're an entrepreneur that has this dream, this idea, and you're giving your life to making this thing happen, this is a part of who you are. It is not just what you do every day. It's not just like going to a job, showing up to complete some tasks, collecting a check, and then going home. This is literally, it is a part of you expressing your whole being. So in that process, it's only natural that you would be changing, you would be growing. And as you grow, it's almost like the business in some ways can become a metaphor for what you are going through and how you are becoming the best version of yourself. And so that's the process that I'm really interested in. I love hearing about entrepreneurs' ideas and helping kind of interpret those dreams, and then providing you with resources and support and services to actually bring that thing to pass, to help you build the vision, to help you create a blueprint for how you get there, right? So that's what engineering your corporate DNA is all about as a concept. And so we've identified 12 steps in the engineering your corporate DNA process. And the one we're on right now, we're still in the first quarter. The first 3 of those is about productivity. At first I asked, how are you going to get it done? And now we're answering the question, what habits do you need to master? Because again, remember, you are so attached. You are part of your business when you are starting from scratch. So your business is an expression of who you are at a certain point. Like the health and the strength and the stability of your business is really, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm about to say. Is really reflecting what's going on inside of you, unfortunately. And so the good news is that that's happening to all of us. So you're not by yourself. And the other good news is, as you work through those issues, as you are willing to take a look at yourself and make the necessary adjustments, you're going to see the fruit of that reflected in your business, in your life. That's why I want to help you get a vision for every area of life, because you're going to see where everything does get better, incrementally better. Sometimes you're catapulted into better, and sometimes it feels like it's never going to get better. But the reality is, if you are continue to press forward, you are making progress, and you are getting closer and closer. Hey, Renee, you're getting closer and closer to what it is you want, right? So we have been talking about mastering your habits. What habits do you need to master? And I've presented on a couple of occasions the concept of repo, REPOH, repetition, easy, pleasure, often, habit, right? Meaning that if you do anything with repetition, it will become easy. And when it becomes easy, it will become a pleasure. And when it becomes a pleasure, you will do it often. And when you do it often, it will become a habit. And you can apply it to the good things that we do and the negative things that we do, the destructive habits that we have. So the way it became a habit was because you did it over and over and over. You did it with repetition. You repeated an action enough times where it just became easy for you to do it. I mean, just think about the hardest thing you've ever had to learn, or you feel like was the most insurmountable. And when you walked up to it and you got introduced, the first thought was, oh my God, I cannot do this. Like, it could have been terror, like mine, when it came to me thinking about doing the show, even though I had been wanting to do it for years, right? In my mind, the first thing was terror, but I have been doing it now with repetition. And now that repetition has made it become easy. And now that it has become easy, hosting Vivid Talk Live has become a pleasure. And now that it has become a pleasure, I'm doing it often. I'm doing it every week. I don't hesitate. No matter how crazy the day gets, I never go, oh man, I wish I didn't have to do this today. Never. Like, I don't know that there are too many things that I can say that about. But now it's a habit. Now I'm working on how do I make it better? How do I share it with more people? How do I evaluate what it is I'm doing and to do it better? Like, so now I've mastered a new habit. And so you have the opportunity to do the same thing. And the 5 habits I'm suggesting that, the 5 top categories of habits that I'm suggesting that you develop are coming from my Flip Productivity System. And it is about, again, giving you some brain hacks, helping you to think differently about the things that make you stop, to give you some tools and some concepts to help you break through those mental barriers that we create for ourselves. And so the 5 habits that I'm suggesting you master, and I've talked about 2 of them and introduced 1. And so we're going to continue with that 3rd one. But the 5 habits are organizing, tracking, acting, waiting, and scheduling. And what's beautiful about life is that it's not finite. It is living and breathing and moving and growing, and things are constantly shifting around you, in you, for you. You are constantly shifting. So that's the beautiful part, is that everything, that's the sign of life. And when life is continuing, that means that there is this circle, this cycle, this process that continues to go, and it gives you the opportunity to start fresh every day, to start fresh every moment, to make a decision that you're not going to allow whatever perceived failure that you've experienced in the moment, for the year. You can look back on 2020 and go, oh man, I can't wait for us to get out of this. But you know what? Once we get out of 2020, I mean, I love the new year. Whether it's true or not, I always feel like it's a reset, a fresh start. Ooh, I can start over. And it's a beautiful, exhilarating feeling. But the reality is, once we get to 21, there's going to be more stuff. But that's the beauty, because you get to overcome every situation that comes. And after a while, you're going to feel like Wonder Woman, like I do sometimes now. I feel like I am ready for really almost anything that comes. Like, bring it on. Wear my bracelets, right? Like, I get my imaginary bracelets, and I'm shielding myself from every possible fiery dart that could come my way. And it's beautiful to feel triumphant, feel your progress coming on, to feel the clarity just taking over the darkness and the clouds and the disappointment and all those things. And you have the ability to impact that, to create that feeling for yourself by mastering your own habits. Because at the end of the day, you are the only thing that you really ultimately can control. We can't we can't make all the things outside of us. We can't make other people. We can't make our businesses grow. It is only all we can control is how we function, what we do, and how we behave. And so we're going to continue. We talked last week about acting, and I shared with you that acting is an acronym. ACT is an acronym for what action do you need to complete to what action do you need to take to complete the next task? What action do you need to take? That's the A, to complete the next task. ACT, ACT. So the habit that you need to master is acting. And there's 4 kind of subcategories that I want to bring to your attention. Planning. We talked about that last week about creating a playbook. A playbook is a set of next steps, a set of an overall plan for what you're going to do step by step by step to get you to where you want to go. And then a playbook also is a plan that helps you determine how you're going to live your life at play, help you define what play means to you, and just the steps that you're going to take so that you can live your life at play. So that no matter what you're doing, work, literally playing, whether you're resting, relaxing, traveling, vacationing, being with family, being with friends, solving problems, dealing with neighbors, whatever it is you're doing, you can learn how to live every moment of that at play, where you're doing and being the best version of yourself. You're making a difference. You're making an impact. You are tackling the things that matter to you. You are dominating. You are the boss, but you're not the boss of other people. You're the boss of yourself. You're the boss of your surrounding. You're the boss of your destiny. And that's where we want to get to. And that's living your life at play. It makes me happy just talking about it. But so that was last week. So this week we're going to talk about connecting, serving, and assessing. And we might get into waiting, who knows. But I was looking at this and connecting, taking action, acting on connecting. What action do you need to take to complete the next task? So the next task might be connecting with people. And I when I was looking over this before we started today, I was thinking, why did I put that in there? But I realized that in the context of these worksheets, what I had done was I was working on, it was my flip book. So in the flip book, there's a section for all the habits you need to master. There's a section that addresses each of those habits. And so the one section that I have is this like address book, right? It's just a list of contacts where you can just some fields where you can put in the name, email, phone number, whatever. And what I realized was, even if you don't keep your contacts that way anymore, you don't write them down like that in an address book. Even if you don't keep them that way, it really brought to mind the fact that we still have to have a plan of action, and we have to develop a habit of connecting. And that habit includes you need to have contact information so that you connect with other people. That's logical, right? But I think we don't think of it really proactively, that we need to have a plan, to have a habit of proactively connecting with people and managing the ways that we connect with them. In a business, I think everybody needs a CRM of some kind. And back in the old days, we used to have Rolodexes. You would keep an address book physically, but now we just need an action plan for how we are going to, not just manage the information. So that goes back to tracking, right? But the action of connecting, using the information that we have in our databases, using even just with relationships, personal relationships, family relationships, proactively connecting with people. So even now during COVID, when we can't, we're coming up on holiday seasons and Thanksgivings, and they're telling us either do not get together or get together outside or get together on Zoom. Like that, for some people, could be super depressing. The idea that, man, I'm not going to be able to connect with anybody over the holidays and make memories, right? But you can make memories no matter what's going on, whether you can be in person or not. You can do it by just making a conscious decision. I'm going to develop a habit of connecting. I'm going to figure out ways that I can break through and connect with people. And the Bible says if you want a friend, you need to show yourself friendly. You need to be a friend to someone. So oftentimes our own loneliness or our own difficulties, if we need something, oftentimes it's because we haven't asked for it, because we haven't reached out, because we haven't connected. We don't know if somebody else needs our help because we haven't connected. So making a habit of acting on connecting, making sure that you are cultivating those relationships. And then to also connecting, and I mentioned family, friends, all that, but I think in this habit is one where we prioritize relationships. And we prioritize even developing strategic partnerships where we are nurturing those relationships, on purpose, that we're not just falling into them by accident. I mean, I think sometimes the season that you're in your life will demand that you're a loner to a certain extent, because you have to focus, and that's okay. But at the same time, I think we have to make sure we don't get so lost in that mode that we forget that we need to actively form relationships, new ones, cultivate old. And also, I want to caution you, because it's so easy when you do have those relationships to really feel a deep sense of loss when they are gone or when they change. And the other thing about life is that we all are going through so many different cycles and growth pains and situations that it's natural that a relationship would change. If you may have had a childhood friend and maybe you're not as close anymore, or maybe you had a situation where you just fell apart, but like you don't talk at all and you don't like it. But the bottom line is, you can always reach out to people and try to continue and to rebuild bridges and, reunited. I was thinking about Peaches and Herb, reunited, and it feels so good. But you can always do that. But sometimes I think we have to step back and realize that it's okay that, your best girl got married, has children, and now they have a totally different life that doesn't really match what you all used to have. Those relationships are naturally going to change. It doesn't mean you don't love her, she doesn't love you, and, vice versa, him. But it's changed. And so we have to actively work to cultivate new relationships, old relationships, current relationships with ourselves when other relationships change, but that you make it a habit of connecting. And I have to talk about it even for myself, because I realize that there are personalities, like my son. Oh my God, I think he's one of those people that needs to be with people. If he had to sit in front of a computer all day and not interact with humans, it would drive him crazy, because that's just not part of his being. So others of us, I'm a little more, I love being around people, but I also comfortable being by myself. But I have to, no matter what, the bottom line is, no matter what personality style you fall into, you still have to intentionally cultivate relationships and also connecting to build teams. So whether you have a team of people working with you, or you have a team of people that work with you, contractually or from time to time, still you need to cultivate a team, and you have to proactively go after building and establishing and nurturing those relationships. So a habit of connecting. And I went into the story about just connecting, because what I've realized is I'm comfortable being around people. I love it, actually, but I feel like for this season to invest so much time in cultivating ideas and building things that required me to spend a lot of time by myself, that now I had to remind myself, like I had to get up and make the extra effort to network and to go to events. It's not something that I'm going to do naturally because I've gotten into this mode. So again, I've created a habit now of hard work all by myself in the office all day, in the house in the middle of COVID and before COVID, right? But I have to now cultivate a habit of connecting with people, connecting with clients, connecting. That's when we talk about marketing and marketing automation, which I was in my workshops my conventions last week. The reality is everything that we do is about people. And so we have to make a conscious decision, develop a habit of actively connecting and cultivating those relationships. Okay. So the next one is serving. And I just keep coming back to the question that Jesus asked the disciples. The disciples came to him and said, Jesus, who is the greatest one among us? Like, which one? And he said, if you want to be great, you have to be the greatest servant. And you have to create an action plan, a habit of service. And service is about, selling is service. Because if you sell somebody a solution to the issue that they have, you have served them, right? So, but service in prioritizing other people, that by itself is going to enrich your life in ways that you just really, I find that to be the most rewarding. Like, it's cool for me to get a big contract to meet a milestone, but man, helping other people get to that point, I really can't imagine anything better. Like, all the big moments in my life that I can think about in work, the things that were the most rewarding were times when I had the opportunity to do that. And whether it's spiritual, like in a faith-based situation, or whether it's a social situation where you're really serving, make a difference for somebody, where you just inspire somebody emotionally, you help them to get out of a funk. Like me, if I get to say anything, I think that's at the root of my little nickname, Gwen Fuchsias. It's not so much that I'm so smart, but it's just I prioritize revelation and wisdom, and the idea that I would have an opportunity to do that for somebody else. That's why you get up every day, right? So I think developing a habit of service will bring you to your greatness, help you see it, to help you discover it, to help you live it. At the end of your life, what do you want people to be saying about you? And I think that being known for making a difference for people and serving other people is right. That's a high calling. And then the other is service is also providing value. And so now, as modern marketers, we hear all the time that we want to add, provide a value to instead of just calls to action. We want to issue calls to value, where we're sharing with somebody something that's meaningful to them, that's going to help move them forward, that's going to help make them be the star, that's going to help them understand how to take that next step and get over that next hurdle. So you clearly act. We go back to the acronym. What action do you need to take to complete the next task? And the next task is service. How can you provide value? And I like the phrase, how can you be for, FOR dash giving? How can you be for giving? How can you be a proponent of giving? How can you, how can you share more of yourself, more of your resources, more of your intellect, more of you don't have to give everything away, but at the same time, we need to develop a habit of giving, of service, of providing value. And that is going to bring us the greatness that we want. You think about the brands that you love the most, that make the biggest difference in your life. I just bought some more. I just bought, not more, but I just bought my first pair of, first, as if I'm going to get more. I just bought a pair of AirPods. And I tell you, I'm Apple girl. I love me some Apple products. And I've been eyeing those things forever. And I'm going, oh, they're so expensive. Like it hurt my soul every time I saw the price. But I was like, and I kept thinking, man, if I'm in different parts of the house, I keep thinking, man, I need a portable speaker so I can play my music, so I can hear it. I need that quality sound like wherever I am. And I just kept thinking about all these ways that what kind should I get? When should I get it? And I kept searching and never did, right? Never bought one. We have one in the house, but then I got to be in a certain place. And I'm like, if I'm in the bathroom, I want to be able to hear good, quality music. And I just kept thinking about all these ways to solve that problem for myself. Not a real problem, but it was just a desire. And it never occurred to me that the AirPods could kind of solve that problem for me because, but finally I saw someone who talks about Apple products all the time. He has a podcast. He recommends just all kinds of, gives all kinds of great advice around using the Mac OS in your life. And he posted about the fact that there was a sale on AirPods. I was like, this might be the best chance I can get. It was still expensive, but let me tell you something. I tell you the story because I bought those things, bit the bullet, and I made it the one gift I gave to myself, right? Bought them, and I got to tell you, I love them. They have literally changed my life. They brought such joy. Like I can put them in while I'm doing the dishes, and it's just the quality of the sound, and I can groove, and I found new music, and it just changes the way my day goes. Well, the point of that is that when we sell and we solve a real problem for somebody, not the problem we perceive, but the problem they really have, then that gives us an opportunity to be great, right? Because we have changed their life, changed their circumstances, changed their outlook. That's the point of acting. And then the last one is under acting is assessing. Right? We have to develop a habit of proactively assessing ourselves, right? I love my personality quizzes. I love learning about different parts of my personality and about the personalities of others, because every time I take one of those tests, I see all these other personality types and behavior types, and I can look and learn how to deal more effectively with other people. So if I take this action of assessing myself, it also gives me more compassion and more grace toward other people because I realize, oh man, I see where changing a certain thing, how that made a difference for me and how not changing it impacted other people negatively. Then I can look at somebody else who might have some other issue that maybe I'm not wrestling with, and I can give them some grace now because I realize, I'm not that great either, right? Like I have issues as well. So I think proactively assessing yourself can keep us from getting too deep in a rut. And where we can look at ourselves objectively, because everything you do isn't bad. Everything you do isn't wrong. And so you have to learn how to have just a really balanced view of yourself. Then the other aspect of assessing your own work. It's easy. All the things that you did to actually invest in the work that you do. And your intentions while you're doing it. But somebody else might see the same actions that you value and you see as important and you understand your own intentions, but somebody else could see that and read it completely wrong. And just because they read it wrong, the natural thing that you're going to do is to defend yourself. So rather than always being in defense mode and acting as if, well, man, I didn't mean for that to be this. This is what I intended it for it to be. So this is how you should have received it. Well, they may not. But you can still be brave and look at yourself and go, what do I need to adjust? And I'm learning how to do more and more and more of that, and not just to judge everything I do for myself as great, even though I know that the intentions that I have are good, ultimately. But that doesn't mean that just because my intentions are good, that everything that I'm doing is actually on point and exactly how I should be handling it. So making this, it's called growth, right? Learning how to take proactively, to take the action of assessing yourself so that you can grow. Assess yourself, assess your work, your results. I think, this is where you need to be able to gather enough data so you can say, you know what, you need to be able to look at what it is you're doing so that you can make adjustments to improve it before somebody else has to come and tell you, oh, this is wrong. You shouldn't do it this way. This could have been better. You made me mad. Before we come into those situations, we want to take the opportunity to just look at what it was that we are doing and to make any necessary changes and adjustments. And then also assessing your own process. I'll go ahead and introduce the next one. So the next habit. So we talked about organizing, tracking, acting, and then the next habit is waiting. Waiting is actually an action. Waiting is a skill, a habit that we have to master, because not everything can happen right now. And there's 4 aspects to that as well: prayer, team, training, and rest. And so there is a section in my flip book to write down, like you have your act list. These are those action items, your AKA formerly known as the to-do list. There's these things that you want to take action on immediately, but then there are these things that you need to still write down and keep track of that require you to wait, that where the ultimate outcome is not based on your own efforts. Like you have to allow something else, someone else or some other process or something else to work out before you can actually check that thing off and say it's done, right? That's waiting. And the first thing is prayer. And, no matter what you believe, I looked up what prayer means, and it's deliberate communication. I didn't finish that. It's deliberate communication with the divine, I think, is ultimately what I saw. I'm piecing together definitions. It's a solemn request for help or an expression of thanks. I want to say to someone higher than yourself, to something, if that's how you believe, bigger and outside of yourself, beyond your control. Your spiritually be outside of your own, outside of you. Okay. And so prayer, some may call it medication. You may, any different ways that you how you see it. But I wanted to include the word prayer because prayer is an act of waiting. It's because when you ask, some people talk about asking, putting things out into the universe. I don't personally ascribe to that idea, but if you believe you put things out into the universe, if you put it out in the universe, you still got to wait for whatever it is you want to come back, right? So, and you have no idea how long that's going to take. So you have to learn how to proactively wait. And I think this idea is expressed in the fact that really it's about expectation. Like I wouldn't ask you for something if I didn't have an expectation that you were going to give me what it was that I asked you for, and that you had the ability to give me what it was give me, or to fulfill my request, right? So when we pray, when we ask for help, when we when we express ourselves that way, we have to do it with an expectation that what it is we're asking for is actually going to happen. And because we don't have any control, there's no steps I can take to make sure that happens. All I can do is ask, and have confidence that the one I am talking to is capable, that there's a potential that it could happen for me. So it requires waiting, and it's an expectation. The difference between giving up and prayer is that the bottom line is you have an expectation that's actually going to happen. So waiting in expectation is an action. Okay. And so there's a place on the wait list where you can write down what you prayed for, what you're expecting. How many times have you prayed for something and then just forgot? Right? I do it all the time. So it's just human nature. You can't physically hold it all. That's why you want to clear the brainstorm, because all these things you think of your brain as this finite. It's a bucket, and it can only hold so much. And as soon as it gets too full, it's going to start to overflow and you lose. That's how we forget. So you have to write things down. And even if you write it down many times, you still forget. But if you have it, I always say those notes are like prophecies, because how many times have you gone back to an old notebook and you saw something that you wrote, completely forgot about it? It could be years later and you look at it and it's still applicable, or maybe you're going through that thing again right now, or you're seeing it coming to pass all of a sudden, but you didn't even remember that you wrote it down. How beautiful is that? It's such a wonderful discovery. Every time that happens to me, it's just glorious. It's like God himself is just speaking to me and saying, keep going, right? Keep that you're on the right track. And how beautiful is that? What a wonderful affirmation, right? And so waiting on in prayer, and then team. So I think I wrote waiting on the team, because if I have a team of people working with me, I have to wait on them. I have to wait on them to develop. I have to wait on them to invest themselves in the process. I have to trust. Like if you delegate something to someone, you got to wait for them to deliver, right? And so that's a habit. And if you feel like you are the only one who can do X, there's a problem. It's a problem if your goal is to grow, if your goal is to build, if your vision is bigger than you and it's something that you cannot complete alone, then you have to develop the habit, master the habit of waiting on your team, waiting on your team to show up. I've worked for years and years and years and years wanting to work with people, trying to form relationships. They don't work out, boom, boom, boom. But I just kept going. So I think that in itself is an action. You keep having hope that the right person will come along, the right people will come along, and as you're growing and changing, you're attracting those people to you. So waiting, I think it's about expectation, and waiting is also about attraction. That's good. I like that. And then the other piece is training. So training also, you have to wait, because as sad as it is to say this out loud, you cannot run a couple of miles, do some push-ups, take your vitamins, fast for a day and lose your 20 pounds. It's just not going to happen. Why? Because you work out one day, and what happens to your muscles? If you haven't been working out at all, and then all of a sudden you work out, you are using those muscles. Now what happens? They ache and they hurt, and you need those muscles need to recover in order for those to continue the process of getting stronger. That takes time. So training physically, mentally, emotionally, all of that takes time. You got to wait on the results of the training. You have to invest the time in it. You have to use the skills you are learning, and then you see some fruit from it. and you don't know exactly when it's going to show up. At my age, I can start a weight loss program, and I'm not losing the weight the way other people, younger people especially, the way they are. My body is just not functioning that way anymore. So I have to invest time in working out and physical training, because I have to invest the time in it, believing that it's going to, knowing that it's bringing me, it's bringing me good, it's producing good for me, even if I don't necessarily see all the results that I want to up front. So the habit of waiting on and training, waiting on the fruit of your training to show up. And so I think so. Also, I got these 3 words. I'm gonna have to watch this and watch this back. Watch this back. Watch the replay and write these things down. But I think also, so waiting on training is about consistency, right? So being consistent is about waiting, because what you're doing is you're putting faith in the fact that steady, continual, structured activity, that it's going to pay off, right? So you are developing this habit of consistency in and waiting on those results to become a reality. And then the last is rest. I really like this one. I like this one because I've been so bad at it. But what I learned, I got a revelation years ago that rest is a celebration of creation. And so rest at that moment stopped being a 4-letter word to me. People used to always say to me, "When do you rest?" Because I've always been known to work around the clock. I just like it. It's fun. I like developing. I like creating. I like seeing the result of my ideas, like how them come into pass. I love triumphing over whatever limitation I feel like I have. If I don't have any money and I turn this thing into multi-million-dollar something, looking like with no money, like that is thrilling to me. It's fun. And most of my time, I've been able to invest that time, right? So to me, that's fun. That's play. And people would say, oh, and I would say, oh, I don't need to rest because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like that's my rest. And at the time that really was true. And so now though, at my age, I've come to want to do other things. Like I want to create, and I want to, it would be nice to do some traveling. So I have a different value, for how I spend my time. And I'm at a different stage in relationships. I have an amazing marriage and just fun and joy. And so I just like hanging out with him. So my priorities have changed. And so when I got that revelation, then I realized also that kind of helped usher in the change, I think, because what I recognized is rest is not something you do just because you're lazy or just because you're tired. Rest literally is the next step in the process. If you are building something, you create something, rest is the celebration of that. And even what we were talking about training, you go out and have a really good workout, resting your body, giving those muscles time to regenerate and rejuvenate themselves. That's the celebration of the workout that you did. It's you get a great contract, close the deal, deliver. It's time to party. It's time to rest and celebrate the creation, what you were actually able to do, what you were actually able to produce. Oftentimes we tell people you set a goal and then you figure out how you're going to reward yourself. Well, I think this concept is bigger than that. It's literally that's you getting through the tape. You're in a race and you get to the finish line. You're not supposed to slow down and back up. You're supposed to run fully through the tape and complete it. So I think that's about follow through. It's about really rest is the last part of the last step in the process. It's not just something you get to do every once in a while. It's a habit. We have to develop a habit of resting. And for me, that's turning into a bunch of dancing because I'm finding some great music and I'm about to start a hashtag dance break, and watch out for the videos because I'm going to be asking you to join me doing a dance break challenge. Okay. So, but anyway, I'm going to finish there for the night. And it's amazing how I look at the clock, and 1 minute it's like 7:36, and the next minute I done talked another half hour. So I hope I've helped you in some way, and that you can find some nuggets and maybe go back and find things here and there that'll really help you move yourself forward. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to follow Gwen Fuchsias at Gwen Fuchsias on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. And I will see you next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please share the link with your friends, tell them about it, and I will see you then. Credits are coming.